The night was dark, but Nneka's heart was darker. Her bare feet slapped against the muddy road as she ran, her breath coming in sharp gasps. Thorns bit her legs, but she didn't stop. Behind her, in the distance, she heard the clanging of metal and the angry shouts of Mr. Tunde, the man she once called savior. 3 moons ago, Nneka had packed her wrappers in a hurry, tears blurring her eyes. Her husband, Emeka, sat on their cracked floor, his head in his hands. "Nneka, please. Things will change," he begged. But she didn't listen. She wanted better big cars, shiny clothes, money that smelled new. So she left Emeka's tiny hut and ran to Mr. Tunde, the smooth-talking trader with gold rings and a car that growled like a lion. But Mr. Tunde was no angel. One night, Nneka woke up to strange chants. Peeking through his bedroom door, she saw him kneeling in a circle of fire, holding her photo and whispering to a goat's skull. Her blood turned to ice. "She will be the sacrifice next full moon," he hissed to a shadowy figure. Nneka's legs burned, but she pushed harder. The juju bracelet Mr. Tunde had given her to protect her felt heavy. She yanked it off and flung it into the bushes. No more magic, she thought. Suddenly, headlights cut through the dark. A rusty Okada appeared. "Uncle, take me to Omodi Street," she begged, jumping on. The rider sped off, not asking questions. When they reached Emeka's street, Nneka's heart danced. But as she neared his compound, she froze. There he was, Emeka, laughing by a fire, his face glowing. Beside him sat a woman in a yellow dress, her laughter like bells, Adaura. Nneka's knees buckled. "Emeka," she whispered, but the wind swallowed her voice. Just then, a cold hand grabbed her shoulder. "You think you can run from me?" a voice growled. Nneka screamed. Nneka's scream died in her throat as she turned. It wasn't Mr. Tunde. A bony-faced man in a black robe glared at her, his eyes red like pepper. "You belong to us," he hissed, pulling a dagger from his waist. Before Nneka could move, a flaming stick swung through the air. WHACK. The man yelped, dropping the dagger. Emeka stood there, his face fierce, the fire stick blazing in his hand. "Run, Nneka," he shouted. But Nneka couldn't run. She stared at Adaura, who stood frozen, clutching a baby wrapper to her chest. "Emeka, who is this?" Adaura asked, her voice trembling. "No time." Emeka grabbed Nneka's wrist and yanked her into his compound. The bony man vanished into the night, but his laughter lingered like poison. Inside, the hut smelled of new paint and money. Emeka's once broken chair was now polished wood. A TV hummed in the corner. He really moved on, Nneka thought, her chest aching. "Why are you here?" Emeka demanded, his voice cold. "You left me when I had nothing." Nneka fell to her knees. "Emeka, Biko, Mr. Tunde is evil. He wanted to lines me for juju." She tore open her blouse, showing the fresh scar on her chest, a twisted mark like a snake. Adaura gasped. "That's the same mark I saw in my village. The Black Python cult." Emeka's anger melted into fear. The cult that LL's women for money? Suddenly, the TV flickered. A news reporter's voice crackled. "Ritual murder in Lagos. Victim found with snake mark." A photo flashed a woman's face. Nneka recognized Mrs. Funk, Mr. Tunde's former girlfriend. "He's done this before," Nneka whispered. "I'm next." A loud bang shook the door. Everyone jumped. "Open up." A voice boomed. "Police, friends, enemies." Emeka hurried to the door, but Adaura pulled him back. "Wait, what if it's them?" Outside, the voice growled, "We know she's here." Nneka's blood froze. It was the bony man, and behind him, shadows moved, many shadows. The door rattled again, louder this time. Nneka's heart pounded like a drum. Emeka grabbed a machete from the corner, his hand shaking. Adaura clutched the baby wrapper tighter, her eyes darting to the back door. "We can't fight them," Adaura whispered. "They're too many." Nneka's mind raced. There's a secret path behind the compound, she said. We used it when we were together. Emeka hesitated, his eyes narrowing. You left me, Nneka. Why should I trust you now? Before she could answer, the window shattered. A rock flew in, followed by a hissing sound. Smoke began to fill the room. They're trying to smoke us out, Adara cried, covering her nose. Follow me. Nneka grabbed Emeka's hand and pulled him toward the kitchen. Behind the stove, she pushed aside a loose board, revealing a narrow tunnel. Though, Adara hesitated. What if they're waiting on the other side? We don't have a choice, Emeka snapped. He pushed Adara in first, then Nneka, before crawling in himself. The tunnel was dark and damp, smelling of earth and old memories. Nneka's mind flashed back to happier times, when she and Emeka used this path to escape, nosy neighbors or fetch water during dry seasons. Now it was their only hope. At the end of the tunnel, they emerged into a thick bush. The night air was cool, but danger was close. In the distance, they could see the cult members surrounding Emeka's compound, their torches flickering like evil stars. We need to get to the village square, Adara said. My brother is a policeman. He can help. Nneka shook her head. No. The cult has people everywhere, even in the police. We can't trust anyone. Emeka frowned. Then what do? We can't keep running. Suddenly, Adara's eyes widened. I know someone who can help. Mama Ngozi, she's a powerful witch doctor. She helped me when the cult came to my village. Nneka's stomach churned. Another witch doctor? No. They're all the same. Mama Ngozi is different, Adara insisted. She fights against the cult. She can protect us. Before Nneka could argue, a twig snapped behind them. They turned to see the bony man from earlier, his dagger gleaming. You thought you could escape? He sneered. Emeka raised his machete, but the man laughed. Fight me and you will die. But I'll make you a deal. Give us the girl and we'll let you live. Nneka's blood ran cold. Emeka and Adara exchanged a glance. The air grew heavy with silence. The bony man's grin widened as Emeka lowered his machete. Nneka's tears fell hot and fast. Emeka, Biko, don't let them take me, she begged. Adara stepped forward, her voice steady. We won't betray anyone, she said, glaring at the cultist. Leave now, or we scream for the whole village to hear. The man hissed like a snake. Fools, the python never sleeps. He lunged at Nneka, but Emeka swung his machete, slicing the air. The man dodged, vanishing into the shadows. We need to find Mama Ngozi now, Adara urged. They ran through the bush, thorns clawing their skin. Nneka's breath hitched as they reached a hut glowing with red candles. A woman with chalk-painted eyes stood in the doorway. Mama Ngozi. I've been expecting you, she said, her voice like grinding stones. Come in, but hurry. The python's children are near. Inside, the hut smelled of herbs and burnt feathers. Mama Ngozi tossed bones onto a mat, muttering. The cult wants Nneka's blood to feed their god. But there is another way. What way? Emeka asked. Mama Ngozi pointed at Nneka. You must give them something dearer than your life. Something that binds you to Emeka. Nneka froze. Ow. Marriage beads. She touched the broken coral beads around her wrist, the ones Emeka gave her years ago. Yes, burn them in the sacred fire. It will break your tie to the cult's curse, but also your tie to him. Mama Ngozi glanced at Emeka. Emeka's jaw tightened. Do it. Nneka's hands shook as she dropped the beads into the flames. The fire roared green, and a scream echoed far away. Mr. Tun's voice. The curse is broken, Mama Ngozi said, but the cult will still hunt you. Go to the river at dawn. A boat will take you to safety. As they slipped out, Adara lingered. Mama Ngozi, why are you helping us? The witch doctor's eyes softened. The python took my daughter. Now I take his power. At the riverbank, moonlight lit the water. A wooden boat waited, but Nneka paused. Emeka, I'm sorry. Before he could reply, a gunshot cracked. Adara cried out, clutching her arm. Behind them, Mr. Tunde emerged, his face twisted, a gun in hand. "You think you can escape me, Nneka? You're mine." The gunshot echoed like thunder. Adara slumped against Emeka, her arm bleeding. Mr. Tunde stepped closer, his eyes wild. "You ruined everything, Nneka. Now you all die." Emeka gently laid Adara down and stood tall. "You want her? Come through me first." Mr. Tunde laughed, aiming the gun. But before he could shoot, Nneka lunged, knocking him down. The gun slid into the mud. They wrestled, rolling toward the river's edge. "Help me!" Nneka screamed. Emeka grabbed Mr. Tunde's legs, but the ritualist kicked free. "The python will swallow you," he spat. Suddenly, the water bubbled. A dark shape rose, a giant python. Its scales glittered under the moon. Mr. Tunde froze. My God. The python struck, coiling around him. "Not Nneka, no. I served you." Mr. Tunde wailed. The snake dragged him into the river. The water turned red, then still. Mama Ngozi's voice rang behind them. "The river god hates greedy hearts. Justice is done." Adara groaned, her face pale. Emeka tore his shirt to bandage her arm. "We need a hospital," he said. Nneka nodded, guilt choking her. "I'll find help." But Adara gripped her hand. "Stay, please." At the hospital, Emeka sat by Adara's bed. Nneka hovered at the door. I'll leave." "You're happy now," she whispered. Emeka sighed. "You were my first love, Nneka, but Adara stayed when life was bitter. That's true wealth." Nneka fought tears. "I'm sorry." Adara smiled weakly. "Go in peace, but visit small." Nneka left, her heart heavy but free. At the river, she tossed her last gold bracelet, a gift from Mr. Tunde, into the water. No more greed, she vowed. Months later, Emeka and Adara wed in the village square. Nneka sent a new clay pot as a gift. She'd opened a shop, selling spices and smiles. And in the river's depths, the python slept, its belly full of lies.